Picture this. It's 2 a.m. You're lying in bed, staring at the ceiling, feeling the low thrum of anxiety. Maybe you scroll your phone, seeking a jolt of pleasure-funny videos, endless memes, maybe even a motivational quote or two. Or maybe you're grinding through your 9th hour of work, driven by the hope that one day you'll finally have enough. Enough money, enough status, enough power to rest easy. But after the dopamine hit fades, or the last unread email is cleared, a strange emptiness returns. Have you ever wondered why? No matter how much pleasure you chase, or how many milestones you crush, something always feels missing. You're not alone. In a world that worships happiness and success, millions find themselves silently hollow, asking, is this all there is? This isn't just a modern problem, eh? It's a question that has haunted thinkers for centuries. But few have answered it with the clarity or the authority of Viktor Frankl, a man who faced the very edge of human suffering and returned with a radical insight. Frankl, a psychiatrist and Holocaust survivor, claimed that the real driver of your life isn't the search for pleasure or the pursuit of power, but something deeper, more urgent, and, in the end, far more fulfilling. Today, you and I are going to cut through the noise, challenge what you've been told about what should make you happy, and uncover the secret drive that can transform your experience of life, even in the darkest moments. By the end of this video, you'll have a new lens, a powerful tool for understanding your own choices, your anxiety, your moments of emptiness, and your deepest sources of meaning. Let's begin. Let's start with a blunt question. When you imagine the good life, what comes to mind? Is it finally relaxing on a tropical beach? Earning your first million? Climbing to the top of your field? Being admired, desired, respected? For most of us, the answers boil down to two things: pleasure, the freedom to enjoy life, and power, the ability to shape our destiny. These are the twin gods of the modern age. We're taught from childhood to seek happiness and chase success. The marketers promise us both, if only we'll buy, achieve, accumulate. But if you've ever made it, even for a moment, you know the dirty secret. Pleasure is fleeting and power is exhausting. You finally get the thing you wanted, and suddenly you're hungry again. Or you realize that with every new achievement, the bar just moves higher. Why does this happen? Viktor Frankl was not the first to notice this. In the early 20th century, two giants of psychology, Sigmund Freud and Alfred Adler, laid out the most popular answers. Freud said, essentially, that human beings are driven by the will to pleasure, the pursuit of happiness, comfort, and the avoidance of pain. Adler argued instead for the will to power, that our deepest drive is to gain superiority, influence, control. Both theories seem persuasive. Look at our world, an endless chase for happiness and achievement, pleasure and power. But Frankl, who endured years in Nazi concentration camps, saw something deeper. He watched as men and women were stripped of every comfort, every scrap of power, and forced to face their most raw, unadorned selves. In that crucible, many perished, some physically, some spiritually. Yet others survived and even found moments of profound meaning despite everything. So here's the question. If pleasure and power are stripped away, what remains? What is left when life itself hangs by a thread? Frankl's answer: meaning. The will to meaning, not pleasure. Not power is the primary human drive. So what does this mean for you? Think back on the last time you felt truly empty, or anxious, or lost. Did pleasure help? Did more likes or more control actually fill the hole? Or was the real hunger for something that would make it all matter? A sense that your suffering, your journey, has a point. If you find yourself chasing pleasure or power but feeling empty, maybe your soul is telling you the real hunger is for meaning. Let's unpack this idea, because meaning can sound vague or mystical. Frankl is clear. The will to meaning is the fundamental human motivation to find a purpose, a reason to get up in the morning, something that gives your suffering and your joy a place in a larger story. Unlike pleasure or power, meaning doesn't fade as quickly. It's not a spike of dopamine or a rush of ego. Meaning endures. Here's a concrete example. Imagine you, exhausted from work, feeling burned out, maybe even hopeless. If you believe your work is just about the paycheck, every obstacle is a threat. But if your work connects to something larger, a mission, a loved one, an idea, suddenly, even the pain becomes part of something that matters. Or take suffering. If pain is just pointless, it's unbearable. But if there's a why, even a small one, something shifts. Frankl often quoted Nietzsche, "He who has a why to live can bear almost any how." What about you? When you face hardship, do you see it as meaningless suffering, or is there a thread of meaning you can find or create? Frankl's core teaching, born from the camps: even when you lose all else, you still have the freedom to choose your attitude to find or create meaning in your experience. Why does this matter for your life right now? Because it puts the power back in your hands. You may not control every circumstance, but you can choose the story you tell yourself, the purpose you assign to your struggles. Tonight, before you sleep, ask yourself, what in my life gives me a sense of meaning? When do I feel most alive, most on purpose? Notice how that question feels, compared to what makes me happy or how do I get more. It's a different kind of hunger and a different kind of fulfillment. But what if you don't know what gives your life meaning? Welcome to what Frankl called the existential vacuum. In the decades since Frankl wrote Man's Search for Meaning, this emptiness has only grown. Our ancestors often had meaning handed to them by tradition, religion, or community. Today, you're told to follow your heart, choose your truth, design your life, but nobody hands you a map. The result? Millions drift from one distraction to another. Frankl noticed this even in the 1940s, people desperately chasing pleasure or power to fill a void that can only be satisfied by meaning. He saw it in the endless need for new experiences, compulsive consumption, addiction, even the epidemic of depression and anxiety in modern societies. Sound familiar? If you've ever found yourself unable to enjoy rest, feeling antsy when you have nothing to do, or haunted by a sense of futility even when life seems good, you may be experiencing the existential vacuum. But Frankl is not pessimistic. He saw the void not as a curse, but as a call, a summons to create meaning for yourself, not just inherit it. So, how can you use this insight? First, recognize the signs. If you find yourself bored, restless, or numbing out with entertainment, ask, what am I really hungry for? Is it pleasure, power, or purpose? Second, experiment with meaning making. Try setting aside time not for work or play, but for reflection. Write down what matters to you. Notice when you feel most on mission. Reach out and connect with others over something bigger than yourselves. Emptiness is not just a lack of pleasure or power. It's a signal that you're meant for more. Let's pause for a moment. So far, we've seen that chasing pleasure and power, while natural, ultimately leaves us hungry for more. Frankl offers a third path, the will to meaning, a drive to find purpose that endures beyond comfort or status. And the existential vacuum, that gnawing emptiness, is not a personal failure, but a universal call to create meaning. But you might still wonder, how practically do I find meaning? Let's go deeper. Frankl believed there are three main paths to meaning in life. Let's break them down immediately, simply, and with real-life examples. Creating a work or doing a deed. This is about what you bring into the world, your creations, your contributions, your acts of service or achievement. Maybe you're a teacher. You pour yourself into guiding students, and in their progress, you find a sense of legacy. Or you volunteer at a shelter, write a story, build a business, or even just help a friend in need. Meaning blooms when you create, give, or build. Experiencing something or encountering someone. Meaning isn't only about achievement. Sometimes it's about what you receive: love, beauty, connection, awe. Think about the moment you witness a breathtaking sunrise or hold someone you love. Maybe you lose yourself in music, art, or nature. Meaning arises in being deeply present, open, and moved by life or another person. The attitude you take toward unavoidable suffering. This is perhaps the hardest and most powerful path. Sometimes you cannot change your circumstances, but you can choose your response. Imagine you facing an illness, a loss, or a setback you cannot escape. In that moment, the only freedom you have left is your inner stance, how you meet suffering, how you hold on to dignity, even in pain. Frankl, in the camps, saw people who, despite horror, offered comfort, shared bread, kept faith in their humanity. He believed that choosing meaning, even when you can't choose your circumstances, is the ultimate human freedom. Why does this matter for you? Because it expands your sense of possibility. If you feel stuck, meaningless, or powerless, remember, you can create meaning by giving, building, or serving. You can receive meaning through love, beauty, or awe. You can become meaning in the way you respond to what you cannot change. Tonight, reflect. Which of these three paths have you neglected? What small step could you take? Create something, savor a moment, or shift your attitude to grow your sense of meaning. Let's bring this all to life with a story, maybe even your story. Imagine you're feeling stuck in your daily routine. Every morning feels the same commute. Emails, small talk, dinner, sleep. You wonder, does any of this even matter? But one day, you pause. Instead of rushing, you notice the old woman who sweeps your office lobby every morning, humming softly to herself. You realize you've never spoken to her. One morning, you smile and say, "Good morning." She lights up, and you find yourself in a brief but real conversation. You discover she's been sending her grandchildren to school with her paycheck. Suddenly, the day feels different. You see meaning in your routine, not because it's glamorous or powerful, but because you are connected to a fellow human, to a bigger story. Or maybe, for you, it's not a person, but a project you care about. Or the moment you choose to forgive, instead of holding on to anger. Or the time you volunteer, even when you're tired. The point is this: meaning is not always a mountaintop experience. It's woven into the fabric of daily life, hidden in the chance to love, to create, to endure with dignity. Where in your life are you overlooking the simple, quiet opportunities for meaning? What could shift if you paid attention? Just for today, let's step back. Why does all of this matter? Why does meaning deserve to dethrone pleasure and power as your central motivation? First, because meaning endures. Pleasure fades. Power slips away. But meaning, once discovered or created, roots you in something lasting. It anchors you through suffering, success, boredom, and crisis alike. Second, because the pursuit of meaning answers the deepest human needs. The need for purpose. The need to be part of a story larger than yourself. The need to transform suffering into something valuable. Third, because it returns freedom and agency to you, even when the world takes everything else. Frankl wrote, "Everything can be taken from a man but one thing, the last of the human freedoms to choose one's attitude in any given set of circumstances, to choose one's own way." So what does this mean for you? Right now, in a world full of distractions and demands? It means you have a choice. Every day, in every moment, you can chase pleasure and power, hoping they will fill you. Or you can turn toward meaning, craft it, notice it, receive it, and become it. No matter your situation, what will you choose to pursue starting today? Let's bring this all together. You've seen that pleasure and power, while tempting, cannot satisfy the deepest hunger of your soul. Frankl's radical proposal, backed by his own survival and healing, declares that your truest drive is the will to meaning. Meaning can be discovered and created through three main paths: contribution, experience, and the stance you take towards suffering. Emptiness is not your enemy, it's a signal, a call to rise above the surface and seek your unique purpose. Here's the most powerful takeaway. No matter your circumstances, you can always choose the attitude with which you meet life. And in that choice, you reclaim your humanity, your agency, and your meaning. You are not doomed to live a life of chasing pleasure or grasping for power. You are not defined by your circumstances or by what the world takes away. You are free to seek, discover, and create meaning every single day. Will it always be easy? Of course not. There will be days when the emptiness creeps back in, when the world feels too heavy. But now, you have a new lens, a question that can transform your experience. What meaning can I make? Even here, even now. You might be surprised at what you discover. So, as you step back into your life, I invite you, no, I challenge you. Look for meaning in the mundane. Create it when it feels absent. Receive it with open hands and an open heart. And when you face suffering, dare to stand tall, knowing you are free to choose your response. Now, I'd love to hear from you. When have you experienced the hunger for meaning? What has helped you find purpose in difficult times? Share your story in the comments. You never know who you might inspire. And if you found value here, subscribe for more tools, stories, and insights to help you become the author of your own meaning. Don't miss our next episode where we'll explore how to face suffering without losing yourself. Thank you for being part of the MindMirror community. The ideas explored in this video are for philosophical and psychological exploration and are not intended as professional advice. Viewers are encouraged to engage in their own critical thinking and further research, and to consult with qualified professionals for personal concerns.